I was standing in my own hallway, barefoot on the carpet I'd vacuumed 1,000 times, when I heard my daughter's voice drift through the crack in the dining room door. "Mom won't last another year. Maybe less." I froze. My hand was still on the kitchen doorframe. I'd just gone to get my reading glasses. They were talking about me, about my death, like it was already scheduled. "So we need to move fast," my son replied. His voice was calm, clinical. "The house goes into probate if we don't act now. We need her to sign the deed over before she gets too sick to write." I felt my knees buckle. I pressed my palm against the wall to steady myself. What if she says no? That was my daughter again. Rebecca, my baby girl who I rocked to sleep every night for 3 years when she had nightmares. "She won't," my son said. "She's weak. She always has been. We'll guilt her into it. Tell her it's for her own good, that we're protecting her assets. She'll believe anything we say." They laughed. Both of them. In my house. At my table. Planning my funeral while I was still breathing. I stood there in that hallway, 73 years old, my heart hammering in my chest like a trapped bird, and I realized something that made my blood turn cold. My own children were waiting for me to die, and they weren't even willing to wait. Let me take you back. Let me tell you how I got here, standing in my own home like a ghost nobody wanted to see. My name is Margaret. Margaret Holloway. For 51 years, I was Margaretchen, married to the love of my life, David. We built our life from nothing. Actually, less than nothing. We started with student debt, a used car that broke down every other month, and a 1-bedroom apartment with heating that only worked on Tuesdays. But we were happy. David worked construction. I worked as a secretary, then later as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm. We saved every penny. We dreamed together. And in 1982, we bought this house. It wasn't much back then. A small 3-bedroom ranch on the edge of town, with a yard full of dandelions and a roof that leaked when it rained hard. But it was ours. We painted every wall ourselves. David built the back deck with his own hands, board by board on weekends. I planted the garden, tomatoes, roses, a little herb patch by the kitchen window. We made love in every room. We fought and made up and raised 2 beautiful children within these walls. Rebecca was born in 1985. Jonathan came 2 years later. I gave them everything. And I don't mean that as a figure of speech. I mean I literally gave them everything I had. When Rebecca wanted to go to art school, expensive, private, out of state, we took out a second mortgage. David worked double shifts for 2 years straight. I picked up weekend bookkeeping gigs. We ate pasta 4 nights a week and didn't take a vacation for 5 years. But she got to go. When Jonathan wanted to start his business, some tech thing I didn't fully understand, we emptied our retirement account. $47,000. Gone. Because he promised us it would pay off. Because he looked us in the eyes and said, "I won't let you down." It failed within 18 months. He never paid us back. I told myself it was okay. That's what parents do. You sacrifice. You give. You love. When David got sick, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, they both promised they'd be there. Rebecca came to the hospital twice. She stayed for 20 minutes each time, checking her phone the whole visit. Jonathan sent flowers. Once. David died on a Tuesday morning in March, holding my hand, whispering that he loved me. I was alone with him. Our children couldn't be bothered to show up. At the funeral, they cried. They gave speeches about what a great father he was. People hugged them, told them how strong they were. I planned the whole thing by myself. Picked the casket, wrote the obituary, paid for everything with the last bit of savings David and I had left. After the funeral, they both asked me if David had left any life insurance. He hadn't. We'd cashed it out to pay for Jonathan's failed business. I saw something flicker in their eyes that day. Disappointment. Frustration. Like I'd personally failed them by not having money to give. They visited less after that. Rebecca called maybe once a month. Jonathan sent texts on holidays, short ones, no punctuation, like I was a chore on his to-do list. I told myself they were busy, that they had their own lives. I made excuses for them the same way I'd made excuses for their bad grades, their missed curfews, their broken promises. Because that's what mothers do, right? We forgive. We understand. We wait for our children to love us the way we love them. But that day, That cold afternoon when I heard them through the door, I finally understood the truth. They didn't love me. They were just waiting for me to die so they could cash out. I didn't confront them that day. I should have walked right into that dining room and demanded to know what kind of monsters I'd raised. But I didn't. I stood there in the hallway, trembling, until I heard chairs scraping against the floor. They were getting up. I stumbled backward into the kitchen, grabbed my glasses off the counter, and pretended to be washing a dish when they walked in. "Hey, Mom!" Rebecca smiled at me. That same bright smile she'd used since she was 6 years old to get out of trouble. It looked different now. It looked like a mask. "We're heading out," Jonathan said, already reaching for his coat. "Good to see you." "You just got here," I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Yeah, well, busy week. You know how it is." He kissed my cheek. It felt like being touched by a stranger. Rebecca hugged me. "Love you, Mom." I didn't say it back. They didn't notice. After they left, I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd served them thousands of meals, helped with homework, celebrated birthdays, and I cried. Not soft tears. Ugly, choking sobs that made my chest hurt. I felt humiliated, betrayed, foolish. Had I imagined their love my whole life? Over the next few days, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Rebecca called me 3 days later. "Hey, Mom. Just checking in. How are you feeling?" It was the first time in months she'd asked about my health. "I'm fine," I said carefully. "Good. That's good." A pause. "You know, Jonathan and I were talking. We're worried about you. Living alone in that big house. It's a lot to manage, isn't it?" My heart started pounding. "I manage fine." I know. But we were thinking, maybe it's time to think about downsizing. You know, something smaller. Easier. A nice apartment, maybe. Or a senior community. I don't want to leave my house. I know it's hard, Mom. But you have to be realistic. What if you fall? What if something happens? We'd feel terrible if... I said no, Rebecca. Silence. When she spoke again, her voice was colder. "We're just trying to help." "I don't need that kind of help." She hung up shortly after. 2 days later, Jonathan showed up unannounced. He walked through the house like he was inspecting it, ran his hand along the countertops, looked at the crown molding, stood in the living room, and stared out the window at the backyard. "This place could sell for a lot," he said. Not, "This is a beautiful home." Not, "I have so many good memories here." Just a price tag. "I'm not selling." He turned to me. "Mom, be reasonable. You're 73. You can't keep up with this place forever. Let us help you. We can handle the sale, find you somewhere nice, manage the money." "Manage my money?" "You know what I mean. Make sure you're taken care of." "I am taken care of. By myself." His jaw tightened. I saw a flash of anger, real anger, cross his face. "You're being stubborn." "I'm being clear." He left without saying goodbye. That's when the text started. From both of them. Sometimes together in a group chat. Sometimes individually. "Just want what's best for you. We're worried about your safety. The house is too much for you. You're not thinking clearly." That last one made me furious. I'd balanced budgets, raised children, buried a husband, and kept this house standing through 2 recessions and a pandemic. But now I wasn't thinking clearly. Then Rebecca sent me a link. It was for a senior living facility, the kind with tiny studio apartments and communal dining rooms. Asterisk, "Just take a look, Mom. I think you'd really like it." I didn't respond. A week later, Jonathan called. "Mom, we need to talk. Seriously. I am listening. Rebecca and I have been discussing your situation. We think you might be experiencing some early signs of cognitive decline." My blood went cold. "What?" "It's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens. But we think it's time you saw a doctor. Maybe got evaluated." "There's nothing wrong with my mind, Jonathan." "Mom, you forgot Rebecca's birthday last month." I hadn't forgotten. Rebecca's birthday was August 14th. She called me on August 16th and mentioned it in passing, trying to make me feel guilty. It was a lie. "I sent her a card," I said quietly. She never got it. Another lie. I realized what they were doing. They were building a case, painting me as incompetent, confused, unable to manage my own life. so they could take it from me. I have to go, I said. Mom. I hung up. I sat in the silence of my home, the one I'd fought for, bled for, loved in, and I felt something crack open inside my chest. Not sadness this time. Rage. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in David's old armchair, the one I couldn't bring myself to get rid of, and stared at the wall. At some point around 3 a.m, I got up and walked to the closet in our bedroom. I pulled down a box from the top shelf, David's things. Letters. Photos. His watch. His wedding ring. At the bottom, I found his journal. David kept a journal for 30 years. Nothing fancy, just a plain notebook where he wrote down his thoughts. I hadn't read it since he died. It hurt too much. But that night, I opened it. I flipped through pages of his handwriting, notes about work, about me, about the kids. Then I found an entry from 2015. Margaret gave Jonathan another $5,000 today. She didn't tell me, but I saw the bank statement. I am worried. Not about the money. We'll figure it out. I'm worried because he didn't say thank you. He just took it like it was owed to him. When did our kids stop being grateful? When did we become ATMs instead of parents? I felt tears prick my eyes. I kept reading. Rebecca called. She needs us to co-sign a loan. Margaret already said yes. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her to stand on her own 2 feet for once. But I saw the look in Margaret's eyes, that desperate hope that maybe this time they'll appreciate us. So I'll sign, because I love my wife more than I resent my children. Asterisk. I closed the journal and pressed it to my chest. David had seen it. Years ago. He'd known. And he'd stayed quiet because he loved me. But David was gone now. And I was done staying quiet. I stood up and walked to the mirror in the hallway. The same mirror I'd passed 1,000 times without really looking. I looked at myself. Really looked. I saw a woman with gray hair and tired eyes. A woman who'd spent 73 years trying to be good enough, kind enough, selfless enough to deserve love. And for the first time in my life, I realized something. I was enough. I had always been enough. It was them. They were the ones who were broken. Not me. I didn't know them my house. I didn't know them my dignity. I didn't know them anything. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Nguyen. She came highly recommended. A sharp, no-nonsense estate attorney in her 50s. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and folded her hands. Mrs. Holloway, I'm going to be blunt with you. Your children are attempting what's called financial elder abuse. If they succeed in pressuring you to sign over your property, especially by claiming you're mentally incompetent, that's fraud. It's also illegal. Hearing her say it out loud made it real. What can I do? First, we document everything. Save every text, every email, every voicemail. Second, we get you a full medical evaluation, cognitive and physical. That way, if they try to claim you're unfit, we have recent proof that you're completely competent. Third, we make sure your estate plan is airtight. I don't have much of an estate plan. Then we create one. And we make sure it reflects your wishes, not theirs. Over the next 2 weeks, I did everything Patricia told me to do. I went to my doctor and got a full workup. Cognitive tests, physical exam, everything. My doctor laughed when I told her why. Margaret, your mind is sharper than most 50-year-old I see. You're fine. She wrote a letter stating exactly that. I changed my will. I set up a trust. I made sure that even if something happened to me, my children couldn't just swoop in and take everything. And then I waited. I didn't have to wait long. Rebecca showed up on a Saturday morning with a folder in her hand and a fake smile on her face. Mom, can I come in? I let her in. I even made her coffee, the way I always did. She sat at the kitchen table and opened the folder. So, I've been doing some research, and I found this amazing place. It's a senior community about 20 minutes from here. Beautiful grounds, lots of activities, chef-prepared meals. I really think you'd love it. She slid a brochure across the table. I glanced at it, didn't touch it, and I talked to a real estate agent, friend of a friend. He said based on the market right now, we could get at least $650,000 for this place. Probably more. We. Not you. After we pay off any remaining mortgage, you're paid off, right? I nodded. Great. So that's $650,000, minus selling costs, and then we'd set aside money for your care, and the rest we could invest for you. No. She blinked. What? No. I'm not selling my house. I'm not moving. This conversation is over. Her smile faltered. Mom, you're not being reasonable. I'm being very reasonable. This is my house. My decision. Not yours. We're trying to help you. No, you're not. Her face hardened. The mask slipped. Fine. You want the truth. You can't handle this place anymore. You're old, you're alone, and you're one fall away from breaking a hip and ending up in a nursing home anyway. We're trying to make this easy for you. Get out. Excuse me. Get out of my house. She stood up, her chair scraping loud against the floor. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is believing you ever loved me. She left, slammed the door, so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. I picked it up. It was a photo of Rebecca at her college graduation. I'd driven 8 hours to be there. She'd barely looked at me the whole day. I put the photo in a drawer. I couldn't look at it anymore. 3 days later, Jonathan called. Mom, we need to talk about Rebecca. I have nothing to say to her. She's upset. She said you were cruel to her. I almost laughed. Cruel. Because I wouldn't hand over my house. Jonathan, I want you to listen very carefully. I am not selling my house. I am not moving. And I'm not discussing this with either of you again. Mom, listen to yourself. You're being paranoid. We're your children. We love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't be circling me like vultures. Silence. We're trying to protect you. From what? From yourself. And there it was. The truth. The thing they'd been building toward. Goodbye, Jonathan. Mom. I hung up. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from an attorney. Not mine. Theirs. They were petitioning for guardianship. They were claiming I was mentally unfit to manage my own affairs. That I was a danger to myself. That they needed legal authority to make decisions on my behalf. I sat down hard on the couch, the letter shaking in my hands. They were really doing this. My own children were trying to take my life away from me. I called Patricia immediately. I was expecting this, she said calmly. Don't panic. We're ready. Ready how? You have medical proof of competency. You have documentation of their harassment. And here's what they don't know. Guardianship cases are hard to win when the alleged incapacitated person shows up to court perfectly lucid and fights back. I have to go to court. Yes. And you're going to tell the judge exactly what they're trying to do. I felt a wave of nausea. I don't know if I can. Margaret. Her voice was firm. They're betting on you being too scared, too tired, too guilty to fight. Are you? I thought about David, about the house we built, about the life I'd lived. No, I said. I'm not. Good. Then let's go to war. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, Jonathan and Rebecca both tried to contact me. Texts, calls, emails. I didn't respond to any of them. Then Rebecca showed up at my door again. This time with Jonathan. I didn't let them in. We stood on the porch, my porch, and they looked at me like I was a stranger. Mom, this is crazy, Rebecca said. Just drop the lawyer. Let us help you. We don't want to do this, Jonathan added. But we will. For your own good. My own good. I repeated the words slowly. You're dragging me to court, trying to declare me incompetent, and it's for my own good? You're being manipulated, Rebecca said. That lawyer is taking advantage of you. No, I said quietly. You are. Jonathan stepped forward. Mom, listen to me. If you fight this, it's going to get ugly. Really ugly. Do you want your dirty laundry aired out in court? Do you want people to know how confused you've been? I haven't been confused. That's not what we'll say. It was a threat. A clear, cold threat. Say whatever you want, I said. I'll see you in court. I stepped back inside and locked the door. I heard them arguing on the porch. Then footsteps. Then silence. I leaned against the door and closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I didn't feel afraid. I felt strong. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Just a hearing room, really. A judge behind a bench. A court reporter in the corner. A few rows of seats. Jonathan and Rebecca sat on one side with their lawyer, a man in an expensive suit who looked like he smiled for a living. I sat on the other side with Patricia. The judge was a woman in her 60s. Judge Callahan. She had gray hair pulled back in a bun and eyes that didn't miss anything. Their lawyer went first. He painted a picture of a fragile old woman losing her grip on reality. He cited the forgotten birthday. He mentioned that I lived alone, that I'd become isolated and defensive. He said my children were concerned and loving and just wanted to protect me. He made them sound like saints. Then it was Patricia's turn. She stood up, calm and professional. Your Honor, Mrs. Holloway is a 73-year-old woman in perfect mental and physical health. She has a letter from her physician confirming full cognitive function. She manages her own finances, her own home, and her own life. The only thing she's struggling with is her children's harassment. She presented the medical records, the bank statements showing I paid my bills on time, every time, the saved text messages and voicemails showing their pressure campaign. Then she called me to the stand. I walked up, hands shaking a little, and sat down. The judge looked at me. Mrs. Holloway, do you understand why you're here today? Yes, Your Honor. And do you understand that your children are petitioning for guardianship because they believe you're unable to care for yourself? Yes, Your Honor. And they're wrong. She nodded. Tell me about your daily life. So I did. I told her how I managed my home, how I cooked my own meals, drove my own car, handled my own bills, how I volunteered at the library on Tuesdays, how I still balance my checkbook by hand because I liked the routine. I told her I wasn't confused. I wasn't incapable. I was just unwilling to be controlled. Then Patricia asked me the question we prepared. Mrs. Holloway, why do you believe your children are filing this petition? I looked across the room at Jonathan and Rebecca. They wouldn't meet my eyes. Because I won't give them my house, I said. Their lawyer objected. The judge overruled him. Explain, Judge Callahan said. So I did. I told her about the overheard conversation, about the constant pressure to sell, about the threats and manipulation. I told her about the money we'd given them over the years, the sacrifices, the second mortgage, the emptied retirement account. I told her that my children didn't want to protect me. They wanted to profit from me. By the time I finished, my voice was steady. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. I was just telling the truth. The judge asked Jonathan and Rebecca if they wanted to speak. Their lawyer advised them not to. Smart move, because they had nothing to say that wouldn't make them look worse. Judge Callahan took less than 10 minutes to make her decision. I find no evidence that Mrs. Holloway is incapacitated, mentally or otherwise. She is clearly competent to manage her own affairs. The petition for guardianship is denied. She looked at Jonathan and Rebecca. I also want to be very clear. This court does not look kindly on attempts to manipulate or financially exploit elderly family members. If I see you back here with another frivolous petition, there will be consequences. She banged the gavel. It was over. I walked out of that courtroom with my head high. Jonathan and Rebecca didn't say a word. They just left. Patricia put her hand on my shoulder. You did good, Margaret. Thank you, I said. And I meant it. Outside, the sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. I drove home, unlocked my front door, and stepped inside. My home. Still mine. That was 8 months ago. I haven't spoken to Jonathan or Rebecca since. They've tried to reach out a few times. Texts around the holidays. A voicemail on my birthday. I didn't respond. Some people might think that's cruel, that I should forgive them, that family is family. But here's what I learned. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up for you. And my children stopped showing up a long time ago. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even sad, really. I'm just free. I wake up in the morning in the home I built with my husband. I drink coffee in the kitchen where I raise my kids. I work in the garden David planted. And I don't owe anyone an explanation. I've started spending time with people who actually care about me. The ladies from the library. My neighbor, Rosa, who brings me soup when I'm feeling under the weather. My book club. I joined a grief support group for widows. I've made real friends there. Women who understand loss. Who don't want anything from me except my company. Last month, I updated my will. I'm leaving the house to a charity that helps women escaping domestic violence. They'll turn it into a transitional home, A safe place for women and children who need to start over. David would have loved that. The rest of my small savings will go to scholarships for first-generation college students. Jonathan and Rebecca will get nothing. And I'm at peace with that, because I spent 50 years trying to buy their love, and I finally realized love shouldn't cost anything. If it does, it's not love. People ask me sometimes if I regret having children. I don't. I regret losing myself trying to make them happy. I regret thinking that sacrifice equaled love. I regret not seeing the truth sooner. But I don't regret the life I lived with David. I don't regret this house. I don't regret the strength I found when I needed it most. I spent 73 years being someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's mother. Now I'm just Margaret. And that's enough. You know what's funny? The other day, I got a letter from Rebecca. Not a text. An actual letter. She said she was sorry. That she'd been stressed and made bad choices. That she wanted to rebuild our relationship. She didn't mention the court case. Didn't mention the house. Just said she missed me. I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer with all the other things I used to hold on to. Maybe one day I'll respond. Maybe I won't. But either way, it'll be my choice. Not because I owe her anything. Not because I'm trying to be the perfect mother. Just because I want to. Or don't. And that freedom, that simple, quiet freedom to choose, is worth more than any house, any inheritance, any relationship built on guilt. I'm 73 years old. I don't know how many years I have left. But I know this. I'm going to spend them living for me. Not waiting for my children to love me. Not trying to earn affection I should have been given freely. Just living. In my home. On my terms. With people who see me, really see me, and choose to stay. And if that makes me selfish, so be it. I've spent enough time being selfless. Now it's my turn. So let me ask you something, whoever you are listening to this story. When was the last time you chose yourself? When was the last time you said no to someone you love because saying yes would break you? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and realized you were enough, just as you are, without giving anything away? Because here's the truth they don't tell you. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I spent decades pouring and pouring and pouring until there was nothing left. But I'm filling my cup now. Every single day. And it feels like coming home. Not to a house. To myself. And that's the best inheritance I could ever leave behind. Not money. Not property. Just proof that it's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to stand up. It's never too late to say, this is my life, and I get to decide how it ends. I am Margaret Holloway. I'm 73 years old. I own my home. I own my choices. And I'm finally, truly free. So tell me, what would you have done in my place? Would you have fought back? Or would you have given in? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if this story meant something to you, hit that subscribe button. Because we all deserve to hear stories about people who chose themselves. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are enough.